This is Health Unfiltered, the podcast where we cut through the bullshit and get honest about fitness, nutrition, and mental wellness.
Michelle, welcome. How's it going?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I got some ribs on the smoker outside, and I just had lunch. It's a beautiful day today, and I'm really
Nice.
excited to be here speaking with you.
Awesome.
Definitely. So we're gonna talk about learning disabilities and hidden disabilities advocacy. But before we get into that, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself so we can get to know you a little better? Maybe where you grew up, what you like to do for fun, and how you got to where you are now?
Sure, I would love to. Well, my name is Michelle Steiner. I live in Pennsylvania. I've lived in the same town where I grew up at, where I was born at. I live with my husband, Ron, and our two cats, Jack and Sparrow.
Nice.
And I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, I'm a photographer, and I'm a paraeducator. And I love to read. I love to write, obviously. And I love to work out. And I also have a learning disability. So I was able to combine a lot of my experiences with photography and with nature with a lot of my writing and my blog, Michelle's Mission.
Very cool. Yeah, I was also diagnosed with learning disability when I was younger. But we can get into that a little
Sure.
later. What is your learning disability?
My learning disabilities, I have dyscalculia, which is a math learning disability. I have visual perception, which is in my hands, I'm sorry, in my brain, not in my eyes. And I have
Hmm.
limited hand dexterity in both of my hands.
Ah, okay. And when were you diagnosed with these?
Diagnosed with having a learning disability whenever I was in kindergarten. My teacher saw that I was really struggling in the classroom. I wasn't able to tie my shoes. I had trouble with counting. I had trouble with dot-to-dot pages and my handwriting. And she recommended that I get tested for having a learning disability. And they knew at age 5 I was not going to be a mathematician.
Hmm.
But they didn't have a name with dyscalculia at that time. It was just more, okay, we know you have a learning disability. And the visual perception, they knew I was going to have some issues with my eye-hand coordination. We weren't so, we didn't understand the extent of that until I was a teenager and I wasn't able to drive. And
Oh,
limited
yeah.
hand dex, yeah. And limited hand dexterity, they did not officially diagnose me with that until I was an adult. So that was a little
Mm,
bit of a surprise. That's one of the newer diagnoses that occurred.
yeah. So how does that visual dexterity affect you on your day to day?
The visual perception, it'll
Visual
affect me
perception,
with
sorry.
my reaction time. I'm not able to drive. Coordinating all the movements, like with driving, is not something that I'm able to do. I can
Yeah.
understand what to do if you have the responsibilities of having a car. I probably could study for having a test, like for a driver's
Hmm.
license, but uh, it's just I'm not going to be able to be able to safely drive and for myself and for other people. It's actually kind of funny. Whenever I was a teenager, my parents knew that driving was going to be somewhat of an issue, so they had me wait a year. And during that time, they thought, well, let's go have you try to mow the field. We lived down the country. And instead of making beautiful, perfect lines, I ended up making circles. So I always say that I now know where crop circles come from.
Hmm.
And my mom also had me try to drive up our driveway. And thank God she was in the car with me, or I would have ran into the family garage. And my
Oh
parents
no.
thought, okay, this is not just the kid that has trouble playing sports and it's not going to be the most valuable player, is not going to be an athlete. This is somebody that's going to have some issues that are going to impact her. So I had a consultation with a rehab facility where they worked with individuals that had issues like with their brain, like strokes or different things. And we did a driver's license assessment. And
Hmm.
what they said was I passed every single test until we got to the very end, and it was about visual perception. And they said, we can't recommend that you get your license. And my mom prayed just for God's will. And I can just remember it was like 100 pounds were just lifted off my shoulders because I was concerned about hurting myself and somebody else. And it just is one
Yeah.
of those things that, yeah. Now, the hand dexterity is really interesting. When I was in school, it was more you could not read my handwriting. And I got W's on my report card indicating weakness. And people would tell me I had the handwriting of a serial killer and was messy and
Oh
sloppy.
man.
And things would also drop out of my hands. And we just thought, okay, you're not coordinated. Oh, you have a learning disability. Your handwriting isn't going to be that great. It's pretty typical. But when I finally got tested, the light bulb went off. That's why things fall out of my hands. That's why I can't unlock doors very well. That's why I can't use a can opener. That's why if I have baggies, I can't seal them correctly, and I can't use twist
Mm,
ties. And that made a lot of sense after that point.
yeah. Yeah, it does. So the visual problems that you have, is that like a delayed like reaction or perception, or can you go into more detail on that?
It's a little bit of a delayed reaction time. It might take me an extra second to process information in general. It's also hard for me, like I will blink every time something will come in my field of vision. So anytime a ball would blink, come in front of me, I would blink at that. So that's really difficult.
Oh, yeah.
It's trying to get like just things like exact, like with uh, just trying to do like I remember the testing was count the number seven. They have number seven with dots in it. We'll count how many are in there. Well, that's also the math part, but it's also the visual perception and just how my brain perceives an object. I can see it. It's just with some of that information that's coming in, it's tough. It can also be hard for me when I can't use escalators because my feet don't know when to step on and to step off with the steps moving too fast.
Oh,
So I'll use the elevator or I'll just prefer to take the stairs.
yeah. Very cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. I had never heard of that before. When I
Yeah.
um when I was younger, I was diagnosed with dyslexia
Okay.
and ADD. And so I
Wow.
my parents noticed, my teachers noticed because I had a hard time
Mm-hmm.
reading, and they took me in and I got assessed, and those were the diagnoses that I received. But
I see. Yeah.
with a lot of extra help, I was able to catch up on my reading and writing. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the dyslexia is still a struggle every day. I always get things mixed up. I can't remember if it's this or that, or it's an ongoing challenge. And I'm a writer also. And so
Awesome.
writing books, it's definitely makes an additional challenge for that as well.
That
So tell me,
would definitely.
yeah, have you published any books or?
I've had two stories or two anthologies that I've had some stories in. I had three in one anthology called Rediscovering Your Story. And it was
Mhm.
about, we went to a workshop where some people had mental health issues, other people had addictions, and I was the only one that had a learning disability. And
Yeah.
we wrote some prompts about just different things in our life. And I had one thing published in an anthology called The Baggage We Carry. And I wrote about the baggage of having a learning disability and some of that,
Mhm.
how that is carried out through my life.
Yeah,
But I still haven't got the book published of just my book yet. Hopefully in the future that'll be something I can do.
definitely. Yeah, no, I mean that's really cool to be part of a project like that, be published. and
Mhm.
and you have a blog too. Do you want to tell us what kind of stuff you write about in your blog?
Sure. I have a blog called Mrs. Michelle's Mission or Michelle's Mission where I write about life with having a learning disability. So I might talk about the process of accepting my learning disability, how that's like a flower that's blooming. Or I might
Mm,
talk about, and I'll show pictures on my website of some of the different things that I see, because I'll have a lot of people that'll tell me, you bring out the details in a flower that I would miss. And since I can't drive, I literally get to stop and smell the roses. And
Nice.
I get a chance, and I think, well, rather than being sad when I don't have a ride or I'm not able to drive a car myself, I would miss all those shots. And that it turns out to be such a better experience for me. And I might even write about just other things, like with having limitations, like, or how other people have limited me in my life. I mean, I've had other
Hmm.
people tell me I couldn't go to college, I couldn't get
Oh,
my
wow.
bachelor's degree, couldn't have the job that I wanted. And I've been able to do all those things and a lot more. And it hasn't been on my own. It's been through the support of a lot of other people as well, and using a lot of services and just different techniques to be able to help me be able to help me. And what I want to do is be able to go out there and to encourage, empower, and educate people with and without learning disabilities.
I love that. I love what you said about not being able to drive and having to walk, but turning that into a positive, being able to
Hmm.
stop and smell the roses and take pictures. And you take a lot of pictures. You're a photographer too. Is that right?
I do. I take a lot of nature photos. My husband and I love to travel to gardens and places that have a lot of outdoor stuff. And I'll take a lot of photographs of that, and I'll just try to bring out a lot of the details in them. And I just love to be able to post them online and on my blog. And I've also had them featured in a couple magazines and some
Cool.
literary places as well. And most recently, they were at We All Are Artists, an art exhibit for individuals that have disabilities.
Nice. How did you get into photography?
Well, it was kind of interesting. I was in a part of an adult writing group.
Hmm.
And I took pictures at prom, and there was a picture of a tree that I took at our venue. And there was an older woman in our group that said, "This shows perspective." And everybody else was asking me, well, my peers, why did you take a picture of a tree? That's kind of dumb. But there was one person who could see the potential before I could even see it too. And I put that on the shelf for many, many years. And I focused on writing. And then I was at a wedding with my husband, and we went to a cemetery on our way home. It was fall in New England, and there was these pictures of these angels. So we took some angel statues, and I posted them online, and I had a friend that was really particular about things, and she said, "Who took these pictures? Where did you take them at? These are really good." And I thought, oh, if that made her happy, I must have done something right. So I entered them into a show, and I think I got honorable mention that year.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, I'm going to enter more things into shows. And I just kept on taking more photographs and entering things in. And people really liked a lot of my photography.
That's really awesome. Do you
Thank
use
you.
one of those what are they? DLSR, those big digital cameras?
I do a lot of digital. Yes, we have a digital camera, but I also take pictures with my iPad and my phone. Sometimes I like doing that as well.
Oh yeah, I take a lot of pictures with my phone when I'm out walking or just with the
Hmm.
dogs or wherever, see something cool and snap a photo. It's so amazing.
Nice.
We have these devices in our pockets so we can take pictures and videos and stream the internet. It's
Yeah,
really incredible.
it's so much easier too. You have it with you. So you see something, you can just take a picture of it.
Right. I think we're both old enough to remember back in the day when you only had film cameras and you had to
Uh-huh.
take that one perfect picture. You couldn't take 100 and you had to go and get it developed and wait for it to be developed. And then you can look and see. And it's way different
Yep.
now.
I know now. I mean, if you blink or the eyes are red or something happens, you can just delete the photo and take another one. I
Hmm.
know, so much better now. I
Yeah,
agree.
definitely. So you said you exercise. Do you feel like
Yes.
working out helps you with your disabilities at all?
It really does. I think a lot of times it's body awareness because with having the visual spatial things, it can be really hard to know where my body is in space. I
Hmm.
I mean, I still trip, but I mean, I can trip on air, but I can remember it was a lot worse whenever I didn't work out. And I
Yeah.
don't do team sports, but I like our group exercise classes at the Y. They have a
Hmm.
lot of nice variety of classes. And then when I'm working and I can't make it to class, I'll do like the treadmill, the elliptical, free weights, and I'm able to really focus. And that was also something when I was in school. Before I would take a test at college, I would go work out for about an hour right before class would start. And I'd have a cup of coffee too. And I would go in and I
Hmm.
would take a test and I would get better grades because my brain was more focused and I just really felt like I could concentrate a lot better.
That's really cool. Yeah, I like to work out as well, and I find that it helps me
Nice.
focus more and have more
Mm-hmm.
clarity. With the
Yep,
ADD, sometimes I can be all over the place, but after I, work my body, then I feel like my mind is more in tune with what I'm trying to do.
exactly.
Do you have any tips that you'd recommend for others with learning disabilities that might help them, like working out?
What I would say working out definitely that helps to keep your mind focused and your body strong. I would say that. I would also say find what you are good at and what you like to do. Because if I dwell on the fact that I can't do math, or I dwell on
Mm,
the fact that I can't drive, or other parts of my disability that are really hard, I'm really negative and I'm sad. But if I focus on what I can do and what I enjoy doing, I'm in a much better mood. I love to read, I love to write. So I'll focus on those things. And I try to go in what is in my control. And I try to just let go of whatever is outside of that. And I think it's important to find things that work for you. I think a lot of times people think, oh, with you have a learning disability. Oh, surely you're smart enough. Can't you just learn how to do this and then you can overcome that? And it doesn't work that way. What really helps me is I might have a situation that I come into contact with, and I know I can't cure it, but I can find ways to work around it. And so if I'm at my job, I have to be very clear. I cannot help with math. I can help with other things, but I can't do that. Anytime I've tried, it hasn't turned into a good experience. And the kids know not to ask me, or we'll find out. Do not ask me for help with math. I
hmm.
think that's an important thing is to advocate for yourself and to know what your disability is and to be able to just find those ways. And I also think it's important to remember that success doesn't always come in the package that you expect, but sometimes it comes in something even better.
Right. Yeah, life's funny that way. It seems to have a purpose. Everything happens for a reason, I feel like.
Yes,
And like you said, focusing on your strength, I think is really important too.
exactly.
Yeah, it can be very helpful. So you work with kids. You're a paraeducator, so you're working with like special ed kids.
Yes, I work with students that have disabilities, right?
Hmm.
A
What
lot,
what age
yeah.
group do you work with?
This year I'm working with seventh graders.
Oh, nice. So
Hmm.
that's middle school.
Yes.
Okay. And do you work with any children with on the autism spectrum?
Yes, we do get students that have autism that we work with. My job mainly is working with our students that most of our students are in a general ed curriculum.
Hmm.
And they have a resource room, but they're in regular ed for a lot of these classes. So I will help them with if they don't quite understand information. And I also encourage them to advocate for themselves. I think that's so important that they know how to do
Definitely.
that. And I think a lot of it is it's like hearing a recording of myself. Not on that, not with everybody, but with a lot of them. I hate my learning disability, or I hate
Mm,
this disability. I just wish it would go away. And I get to tell them it's not a bad thing to have a disability. You just have to find ways to be able to work around that and to advocate for yourself.
yeah. Sometimes it can be a superpower if you utilize it correctly.
Yes,
Definitely. I
exactly.
was checking out your blog and I was reading about advocating yourself for yourself at work. how do
Hmm.
you recommend people do that when they're in a position and maybe they need a little extra consideration?
I think one of the first things you have to do is know what your disability is. And it's to also know what your job is and what you're having trouble with. What is the specific thing about your job that you're really struggling with? And it's to set, and then after you know what that issue is to set up a time to meet with your boss or your supervisor and to go and be very calm and just tell them in private, this is, I have a learning disability. I'm not able to do math. And these are the accommodations that I need, or these are things that really work well. And it's being
Hmm.
able to explain that to somebody in a calm way.
Yeah,
And also to document whatever is going on. And also, I mean, the documentation is also important too, because you want to be able to check back in with your boss or your supervisor and say, are these things working? And if they're not, how do we make this work for the person? I
hmm
think that's important. And I think a lot of times people are willing to accommodate and to be helpful with somebody if they're calm about it and they're able to express what they need. Because I think sometimes people might, employers might think, oh, this person's coming in, yeah, they have a disability, they're more of a liability, but no, they can be they can be a real asset to the company as well. It's just showing that and really educating other people about it.
definitely. It sounds like a good way to go about it. So with
Thank you.
everything that you know now, is there anything that you might tell yourself if you could go back to when you were younger?
Myself that things get better because I can remember being so young and I would just look at my life and I would think that nothing's ever going to get better. I'm never going to learn. I'm never going to be able to achieve what I want to do with my life. And I just wish I could reassure that person that it's going to be okay. You're going to find success. It's not going to come maybe in the package you expect. It's not going to be on maybe the road that you want it to be on, but it's going to come. And sometimes I think that's what I can tell myself, especially if I have a hard day or something doesn't quite go the way I expect. I can just tell myself it's going to be all right. Things are going to work out.
Tomorrow's going to be in a different day.
Yep,
Definitely.
exactly.
So, this is kind of off topic question. What's something that you're most proud of doing?
I think one of the most things that I am so proud of is that I was able to get my bachelor's degree because I had a lot of people telling me I couldn't do it. I even had a psychiatrist who told me I couldn't do it, and I was able to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's quite a challenge. I didn't go after a degree in college. I did do some higher education, but I never finished. But yeah, that can be something that's really helpful for your career or just for your self-confidence.
Hmm. Definitely.
So are there any podcasts that you like to listen to for fun or for higher education?
I think one of there are some that I do like. I have done Don't Let the Disability Fool You. That was a podcast I did a long time ago, but I like the woman that runs that and just some of the message that goes upon that.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to check it out. You were a guest on that
Yeah,
one?
I
Nice.
can give you the links. Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. So is there anything else you wanted to mention?
I just want to encourage other people that have learning disabilities or any other kind of disability not to give up because things do work out and just to keep on doing your best and you'll find success in your life.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I really struggled reading and writing as a kid,
Hmm.
but I stuck with it and now I'm an author and you really can do anything you put your mind to. Maybe not driving, but
Yes.
other things. Yeah. Cool. Well, where can listeners get in touch with you?
If you want to find me, you can, I'm at my blog, www.mrsmichellesmission, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate your time and really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.
This is Health Unfiltered, the podcast where we cut through the bullshit and get honest about fitness, nutrition, and mental wellness.